Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today we are tackling something I think we all struggle with, and that's how to learn effectively in a world that's overflowing with information.
It's a challenge for sure.
It is, and we're diving deep into a book called The Highest Learning Method by Hwaze Ziyuan. Now, he is a psychiatrist and a self-proclaimed output king.
Output king.
Yes, which I love.
I like that.
And he's written like 30 books. So
Wow.
clearly he's got some input strategies that we need to know about.
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah,
He must have figured something out.
exactly. So he starts the book with a pretty sobering statistic.
Huh?
It says that people only remember 3.9 out of 140 pieces of information that they encounter online after just 1 week.
Wow.
If you feel like you're forgetting most of what you read or listen to,
Yeah.
you're not alone.
That's terrible.
I know. So that's why I'm so excited to unpack his techniques, because he really argues that simply consuming more is not the answer. It's about quality over quantity.
Right.
It's about those home run books, the ones that truly resonate and change your thinking.
Yes, one home run book is more valuable than 10 strikeout books that are just kind of bland.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so how do we find those home run books?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, one way is to look for recommendations from people that you really respect,
Oh, yeah.
people whose opinions you really value.
That was good.
Another is to really dive deep into those reviews, and look for something that really resonates with what other readers are saying.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about being selective then,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just reading everything that comes our way.
Absolutely. It's about choosing your input sources wisely
Yeah.
and focusing on the things that actually align with your interests and your goals.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the hype and feel like we need to read all the latest bestsellers or listen to every popular podcast. But if it's not truly relevant to us, are we just wasting our time?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
The author, he stresses the importance of increasing your input accuracy. So it's like aiming for the bullseye. Right. You want to be accurate with your input. And he says to boldly abandon anything other than truly necessary information.
So how do we get better at filtering that then? Is it just willpower?
It's more about strategy, I think. He suggests a few methods like opening your antenna, information home delivery, and building a mental information library.
Those all sound really interesting.
Yeah, we'll unpack those a little bit later.
Okay.
But first, he kind of lays down the 3 fundamental rules for ensuring that our input actually sticks.
Okay. Give me those rules.
Yeah.
I'm ready to upgrade my learning game here.
Okay. Number 1, spacing out while you're reading or listening or watching does not count as input.
Okay.
It has to be active engagement.
I've definitely been guilty of that.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, wait, I just read for an hour and I can't remember a single thing I just read.
We've all done it, for
Right.
sure. That's why rule number 2 is so important. Always combine input with goal setting.
Oh.
Having a clear objective dramatically improves that input accuracy. So are you reading to solve a problem? Are you reading to learn a new skill? Or are you reading to just kind of broaden your horizons?
Yeah, having that purpose, I think, really makes a difference. It's like you're priming your brain to seek out specific answers or insights.
Exactly. And finally, rule number 3. He emphasizes the connection between input and output.
Okay.
They are 2 sides of the same coin.
Makes sense.
And he has this fascinating concept he calls AZ, inputting with the premise of output.
AZ.
AZ.
Okay, I like it. I'm intrigued. What is that all about?
It's basically based on the fact that anticipating a future output task actually boosts your memory.
Oh, interesting.
So like if you're getting ready to give a presentation on something,
Yay.
that actually triggers a little bit of a stress response
Oh,
and it
yeah.
enhances your focus. There was a study done where students who believed that they would be teaching the material later
Oh, wow.
actually memorized it more effectively.
So the pressure of having to explain it to somebody else helps us learn it better.
It seems counterintuitive, but
Yeah.
it does.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. You think about it, when you know you have to teach something, you pay way closer attention to the details.
Right.
You think about how you're going to explain it clearly.
Yeah,
And it forces you to process that information on a deeper level.
I could see how that would work.
Yeah,
It's like giving your brain a reason to really care about the information.
exactly. And you can apply this technique even if you're not actually planning to teach.
Okay.
So let's say you're reading a book. Imagine you're going to have to summarize it for a friend.
Okay.
Or if you're listening to a podcast, pretend you're going to give a presentation on it.
I like that.
Just that little shift.
It's a little mental trick.
Yes. It's a mental trick to make your input more purposeful.
I love it. Okay. So you mentioned opening your antenna earlier.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean?
So think of it like this. Our brains are constantly bombarded with information.
Sure are.
We need a way to filter out the noise, right? He uses this analogy of an antenna to describe how we can focus our attention and prioritize the information that is actually relevant.
Yeah, okay, I'm following. So how do we actually open our antenna then?
Well, he suggests 4 key steps.
Okay.
Number 1, identify your favorite keywords. So the topics that truly excite you and that you want to learn more about, these are like beacons
Okay.
that guide you toward the information that matters most.
Okay, so like if I'm fascinated by history, my keywords might be ancient civilizations or
Yeah.
historical figures or archaeology.
Exactly. It's like creating a mental filter for the type of information you want to attract.
Okay.
And what happens is once you have those keywords clearly defined, you'll find that you naturally gravitate towards information that's related to those things.
That's cool.
It's like your brain's on autopilot scanning for anything that matches your interests.
I like it. Okay, what's the next step?
So step number 2 is to define your purpose and topic for each input session. So before you sit down to read a book or listen to a podcast, ask yourself, why are you doing this? What do you hope to learn from it?
Okay.
Having a clear objective primes your brain to seek out specific information, and it makes the learning process more focused.
So it's not just about passively consuming something. It's about having an intention for why you're engaging with the material.
Exactly. And having that intention in mind helps you filter out distractions and focus on the information that actually matters.
Okay, this is good. I like it.
All right, so we've got 2 down, 2 more to go for opening our antenna.
Okay, give them to me.
Step number 3 is to ask yourself questions throughout the input process.
Okay.
So this keeps your mind engaged and it prompts your brain to actively search for answers.
So instead of just kind of absorbing information, we're actively challenging ourselves to think critically and make connections.
Exactly. You're turning passive listening or reading into an active quest for knowledge.
I like it. And the fourth one?
The 4th one is something we've already touched on a little bit. Input with the premise of output AZ. Ah, yes, our secret
weapon. That's right.
Memory enhancement.
So how does this tie into the antenna analogy?
Yeah.
When you anticipate that you're going to have to use the information you're taking in your brain, naturally shifts into a more attentive and a more information gathering mode.
Okay.
It's like your antenna becomes more sensitive. It's picking up on details and insights that you might otherwise miss.
Oh, that's so fascinating. It's like your brain knows it's going to be quizzed on this material later.
Exactly. That heightened awareness makes a huge difference in how much information you retain and how deeply you actually understand it.
Okay, so we've got our keywords, we've got our purpose, we've got our questions, and we've got our AZ mindset. Our antenna is officially open for business.
It's open for business.
But is there anything else we can do to make the information we're taking in truly stick, like really stick?
That is where the author gets into the power of emotional input.
Oh.
He points out that memories that are linked to strong emotions,
whether it's joy or excitement or even fear, tend to be more vivid and more lasting.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how certain songs or smells can trigger memories from years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Emotions definitely play a role in how our brains store information.
Absolutely. And this applies to learning, too. The more emotionally engaged we are with the information, the better we will remember it.
So if I'm genuinely excited about a topic, or I can connect it to something I'm passionate about, I'm more likely to retain that information.
You are absolutely right. It's like our brains are saying, hey, this is important. Don't forget this.
Okay, so how do we make our input more emotionally charged then? Are there any techniques?
There are. And that is what we'll dive into next.
Okay, I can't wait.
Well, one of the most powerful ways to do that is through live experiences, like attending a lecture or having a conversation with someone you find really inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
Those experiences tend to be much more memorable than just reading about something in a book.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. You're right. There's like an energy and a connection.
There is.
That you don't get from just reading or listening to a recording.
You're exactly right. And it's those nonverbal cues, the facial expressions, the tone of voice, all those things that really add emotional depth to the information.
So you're saying even if I'm a total bookworm, it's still worth seeking out opportunities for live learning?
Oh, absolutely. It adds another dimension to the experience, and it helps make the information more impactful. He also suggests things like incorporating music and art into your learning routine.
Okay, I'm intrigued by that.
Yeah.
I love music, I love art, but how do those things actually help us learn better?
Well, think about how certain songs can evoke certain emotions or memories in you.
Oh, for sure.
That's because music has a powerful effect on our brains.
It does.
And the author argues that listening to music while we learn can actually enhance memory and make the information more engaging.
So it's about creating the right atmosphere for learning then, almost like setting the mood.
Exactly. You might choose upbeat music if you're brainstorming, or something more calming and instrumental if you need to focus.
Interesting. What about art, though? How does that fit in?
Well, when we look at art, it stimulates different parts of our brains, and it can spark our imagination,
Yeah.
help us to see things from new perspectives, even improve our problem-solving skills.
I never thought about it that way, but it makes sense.
Mm.
Art kind of challenges us to think differently
It does.
and make connections that we might not have made otherwise.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of nature either.
Oh, yeah?
Spending time outdoors surrounded by the sights and sounds of nature can reduce stress and improve focus,
Totally.
which makes us more receptive to learning.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. A walk in the park always helps me clear my head and think more creatively.
It's like hitting the reset button on our brain.
For sure. So all of this is great. But what about the people who don't really enjoy traditional reading?
Ah, yes. There's hope for them too.
So there's hope for me.
He dives into alternative input sources like audiobooks, podcasts, documentaries, online courses.
Okay.
These are all fantastic options for engaging with information in ways that suit different learning styles.
That's good news for auditory and visual learners like myself. We're not limited to just books and lectures.
Not at all. And here's a surprising one. He suggests listening to your partner.
Wait, listening to our partners counts as input.
It does.
I thought we were talking about learning, not relationship advice.
It's both, really. Think about it. When you truly listen to your partner without interrupting or immediately jumping in to offer advice,
Okay, yeah.
you're gaining insights into their thoughts, their feelings, their perspective.
You're right. It is a form of learning, and it can definitely strengthen a relationship.
Exactly. And this principle of active listening can be applied to all of our interactions, not just with our partners.
Okay, so the next time I'm tempted to interrupt or offer advice, I should remember that listening itself is a valuable form of input.
It is. So all of this talk about effective input brings up another important question. How do we handle those situations where we're bombarded with negative input?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like dealing with a difficult client or having a tough conversation with a coworker. How do we deal with that?
It's easy to let all that negativity drain our energy and affect our mood.
It is. Remember the curtain technique we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Visualizing ourselves as a curtain, deflecting all that negative energy.
Yes. I love that analogy.
It's particularly helpful in those challenging situations.
Yeah.
It allows us to remain present and engaged without absorbing all that negativity.
It's like creating a protective shield
Yes.
around our mental and emotional well-being.
Precisely. And remember, it doesn't mean that you're being dismissive or ignoring the other person.
Right.
You're still listening, but you're protecting yourself from being overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot so far. We've talked about quality over quantity. We've talked about making input emotional, and even explored some unconventional learning methods.
We have.
What else did this book highlight?
There's definitely more. One thing he talks about is revisiting information. Like, we all have our favorite books or movies that we go back to.
Oh.
And he argues that revisiting information is so crucial for really solidifying our understanding. We shouldn't just consume something once and then just check it off our list.
Right. It's like the difference between just glancing at a map versus really studying it carefully before you go on a trip.
Exactly. If you really want to know the terrain, you've got to look at it multiple times.
Right.
And so he suggests creating a system he calls a mental information library.
Mental information library.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But how do we actually do that? Like, what does that look like?
It can be as simple as, taking notes or highlighting key passages in books, or even just recording voice memos summarizing what you've learned. The point is to have a system that works for you,
Right.
that allows you to easily access and review information later on.
So we're building our own personal knowledge base then.
Exactly. Tailored to your specific interests.
Okay.
And this library becomes a valuable resource that we can draw on whenever we need to refresh our memory or prepare for a presentation or something. It's like having a team of experts living inside our heads.
I love that analogy. Okay. So we've talked about how to be more selective with our input, how to make it more emotionally engaging, and now how to organize and retain what we learn. What else? Are there any other, game-changing ideas in this book?
One thing that really struck me was his emphasis on something he calls information home delivery.
Information home delivery. What is that?
It's about being proactive in seeking out information rather than just passively waiting for it to come to us.
Oh, okay.
It's like setting up a system where the information you need finds its way to you.
So instead of just like randomly browsing the internet or hoping I'll stumble across something interesting, I should be more deliberate in my search for knowledge.
Exactly. It's about identifying your information needs and then creating a system that delivers that information to you regularly.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
Sure. So let's say you're really interested in artificial intelligence and you want to keep up with all the latest developments.
Right.
You could subscribe to relevant newsletters, podcasts, or YouTube channel.
Yep.
You could set up Google alerts for specific keywords.
Yeah.
You could even join online communities or forums where experts and enthusiasts are sharing their insights.
So it's like creating a personalized information stream that feeds my curiosity.
Exactly. It's like having a team of researchers working for you, curating the most relevant and valuable information from the vast sea of knowledge out there.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. I feel like I've gained a whole new toolkit for approaching learning and information consumption.
That's great to hear. It's been a fascinating exploration for me as well.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder. What if we viewed every experience, every interaction, every piece of information that comes our way as an opportunity for learning and growth?
That's a really powerful shift in perspective. It's about embracing a mindset of continuous learning and
Alright.
seeing the world as our classroom.
Exactly. And when we approach life with that kind of curiosity and openness, learning becomes not just a task, but an adventure.
Beautifully said.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the highest learning method. We hope you gain some valuable insights and you're inspired to kind of level up your learning game.
Remember, the journey of learning is a lifelong pursuit, and there's always something new to discover. So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep growing.